you got to get them to respond one way or the other. So someone else or a family member, they told a family member about your offer and they said, no, I'll pay you more. Or it could be a number of reasons. So you got to, um, so a lot of times you say, look, I'm going to send you over the offer. It's this price. Everything I'm telling you, we're going to close in, by the end of the month, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then once you sign it, I'll order title real fast and get moving on it. And then we'll make an appointment. I'll come out and look at the house and get that taken care of. Bring my contractors through. Boom. Mm-hmm. And you got your inspection period in there. And if you don't like it, then you renegotiate after that. It just might have scared them a little bit, or someone else said, oh, don't talk, someone else that's going to buy it and say, oh, don't work with wholesalers. You know how we do that sometimes, Yeah. It sounds like someone else got to her. So I would send that text where it says, I haven't heard from you. There's no response. And it probably means you're not interested anymore. Is that the case?
Okay.
Why don't you just show up to the house?
Because she don't live there. It's vacant.
Oh, well, you got the mailing address?
No, it's through an LLC. So, all right. And that's another thing. Like, I'm actually not even sure if she has, like, I know, if she has the articles for this LLC, and I know you need that for the closing and stuff like that. So that's one thing when I meet with her, I want to bring up, but I want to get the contract signed first. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, and some people are good with signing contracts first. Some people aren't. Without, you just...
and I got a question. As far as signing, do you put the LLC as like the seller, or do you put the like that that they're the person, or do you just put that person's name?
You put that whoever the owner is, the LLC.
The LLC, okay.
And that's who owns the house. And then
but then they sign their name.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was curious about.
Both.
Kevin Beams, there is another name for a claim of interest in different states, and I'm trying to think of what it is.
Is it memorandum or
memorandum?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that was a term.
That's what I was thinking of. I just want to make sure it was the same thing.
If anyone has a deal that they need a claim of interest, I will be more than happy to send you mine and help you. They're really simple to do. So I won't send it until you need it. So
do you do that on every one, Todd, or is it just if only it's getting sketch or something? Or
yeah, only people like Randy had that. If that lady would have signed his offer, and he's been going for two weeks, and he's not, then she's not responding for some reason, then you might want to do it then.
I do it just based off like every deal. I'll just get there's always warning signs, something will come up. But something I saw that was interesting, Pace Morby, what he does is he tells his sellers to, like, he trains his sellers to text back if anyone calls, to just say, call Pace Morby. And I just saw he posted it on his Facebook the other day. It was a screenshot. Somebody had texted his sellers on a text blast, and the seller just said, call Pace Morby, ! And so, being upfront with them about that too is like, even before you're signing or while you're signing, like while we're in contract, you might get somebody to reach out to you about it. And who knows, they might offer you $1 million. And that's a great way to joke about it because they know it's not going to happen. And I've said that before, you might get $2 million tomorrow, but what this is saying is that, we made an agreement and you have to be happy with that. And so if that happens, just tell them to call Carson Demick. I haven't never said that last line, but I've said, because people have asked me what it means that I can file a claim of interest. And I'm like, well, let's say your neighbor Joe comes over tomorrow and offers you $2 million for your house. I need to know that we have an agreement. We're committing our $20,000, and we need that same level of commitment from you. So, be upfront with that. If you tell them about the claim interest thing, then they probably won't do it. You know, you could even tell them we file it for every one of our properties when we put this under contract.
There you go.
So
Right. Yep.
Yep. Good question. Carson, did you want to talk about on the pipeline?
Not really, man. What I want to talk about is social media. Like, and it's funny. I'm getting so geeked about it now, but the more you think about it, the more that you realize how beneficial it is. I mean, it's just networking at the end of the day. But I was talking to you about this, Mike. Most of the sellers that I've gotten off Facebook, I've had mutual friends with them. It's not just random people, but they see that and they see credibility in that. So, you know, you can't really do that. It's just organic as far as mutual friends go, but they're obviously checking your profile picture. So I've been going live a lot. My flips, I went live one of my flips today. I was live and I was talking about a flip, and then I had a realtor text me the next day and say, hey, my flip's right across the street. Thanks for showing it in your video. So I didn't gain anything from that necessarily, but then I asked her, hey, what are you going to list yours for? Because it's right across the street. So it just opens up opportunities that you don't even think are going to come.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's cool to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the first time I went live at my flip, the next day I had someone from a church I used to go to say, hey, there's this guy at our church that wants to sell. He knows your family. He remembers you. So here's his phone number. And that was the day after I went live. Like, he just saw that live video. I was like, oh, this guy's flipping. And he knew I already did. But, you know, just being in front of them at the right time, because they're not going to think of you if you haven't posted in 2 months. You know, they're going to think of their realtor whose sign they see in their neighbor's yard. So it's just like a way of just keeping in touch with people, being on the front of everyone's mind without having to reach out to them. It's kind of cool.
What did Pineda say? It's digital real estate. You're just owning more and more portion of that, because at the end of the day, you're staying in front of people.
Yeah, each software is like real estate. It's a good way to spread your word.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, I got to learn how to do the Instagram and TikTok. I've been messing with it, but Facebook seems where I get a lot of good stuff, you know, deals and buyers and things like that. Instagram, I can't figure that out yet.
You got Facebook on lockdown, Todd.
What's that?
You do really well on Facebook. I mean, and it's obvious.
Yeah.
Todd, it's like they say, man, you got a good face for radio.
Thanks.
Love it.
Well, and with Instagram, it's easy, because if you record on Instagram with one click of a button, you send it to Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same with like TikTok,
Instagram,
Twitter, all of those. You can send it out to Tumblr, all of them.
Yeah,
maybe
Ryan,
show me, Maureen, how to, I don't think it goes to my TC deals, you know, so I gotta.
You tell it where you want it to go. You set that up in your parameters.
Oh, that'd be cool. You gotta show me that. Like you show me everything else.
Okay. Well, should we open up the floor to some more questions? Anyone got any deals they're working out there in the wild? Here's a question. Have you guys listed a wholesale deal in MLS? Yes. How do you word it in the contract? You just word it.
Yeah, but you got your broker has to be investor friendly, and a lot of brokers won't let you do that.
Carson knows the plug for that. If you want to reach out to him, you can DM him. But I just wanted to say real quick, because I talked to the guy at the conference this weekend, and that's all he does, right, is list all of his wholesale deals on MLS. And so he said he makes it very clear. When talking to the sellers, he verbalizes it, right, and obviously he puts it in his contract. And what he explains to the seller is like, listen, you know, before we even close on the property, we want to go ahead and have our buyer, our end retail buyer already lined up. So that's why we go ahead and utilize the MLS service, which I just thought was like a cool way to kind of word it and kind of reason with them. So,
and when you put it on the MLS, you have to state in the comments
right
that the owner of the property or the listing agent has a vested interest in the property.
Yeah, just like if you were to list anything on Facebook, for instance, you always want to say, assignable contract, assignable interest. So you just want to make it very clear.
I'm
most likely the listing agent would not have vested interest. It's you have vested interest.
Right.
As the wholesaler.
So I thought I heard Pace or somebody say that they put it in there. So, you say I got the right to market this property and show it like immediately once this contract is signed, yada, yada. But I think if I slide in, like I also have the right to list this on the MLS, it sounded to me like that kind of covers it, but.
Well, you still have to specify that what you're listing, because it's implying. I'll pull up the verbiage in my contract right now, because mine does say I can list it on the MLS, but I would still put selling assignable interest in there. Let's see.
Okay, so you have to be a little bit careful, because I'm going to come at you from a broker angle here. So I'm going to tell you that you have to be a little bit careful, because when you're listing properties on the MLS, one of the things that is a requirement are disclosures. You have to have lead-based paint and you have to have seller's disclosures. That's the law. There's no getting around that. It doesn't matter whether you've lived in the property or you haven't lived in the property. If you're telling someone that you have an interest in that property, then you have to have those disclosures. So make sure that the people that you're purchasing the property from have given them to you.
Yeah.
What if, because the issue with the reason I'm not really like blasting it out to people as something to do is because I don't know or think necessarily that I'm doing it legally. I don't know. So I'm not telling other people to do it. So, because when I've done it, it's asked me to fill out the seller's disclosures. I don't think I can do that.
Right.
What
that's the
if you're only selling your assignable interest, no. You have to have the people that you're wholesaling the property, with, from, whatever, have to fill out those seller's disclosures, and then you would be passing those along to a potential buyer.
Yeah. So lead-based paint and what else, Maureen? I'm sorry.
Seller's disclosure statement.
Gotcha.
And technically, when you wholesale, you should be getting those docs on every deal.
From the seller.
Always from the person that the title holder, get those from the title holder.
Yeah.
Well, that was worth its weight in gold.
Mr.
Right there.
Michael Heater, Carson Demick, Matt, Randy, Jay, everyone on here, who gets seller disclosures and lead-based paint from their sellers?
What is that?
You're about to learn.
On the contract, I've seen that.
You're about to learn.
We usually check that it has to be.
Mike, was that a serious question? Because we've ran into that and dealt with it.
I'm just joking, bro. Yes. I just freaking sent one to a seller just the other day, our Royal Oak deal, Todd.
Okay, that's what I was just going to ask you.
Yeah, I know what that is. And yeah, we've dealt with it before, right? We wholesaled a property on the MLS and the broker came back to us and it's like, what is this? I need this. I need that. We were like, okay, we'll get you this. We'll get you that. And it was the lead-based paint disclosure and the seller disclosure, So that was the first time that, we haven't sold a ton on MLS, but that was the first time that a broker just came back and said, yo, I need this extra paperwork.
You really should have your seller disclosures and lead-based paint when you're at the house. You should have them fill that out and just let them know this protects you. We want to do things the right way. We don't want anything to ever come back to you down the road. And I want you to fill these out and you make sure they fill them out. You don't fill them out. You could talk to them about it and explain it to them, but don't you handwrite it in yourself.
Could I do a DocuSign with that?
I think there is a way to set up the seller disclosures where they could just click on the buttons and DocuSign.
Yeah, you can do that.
Can we use real comps, lead-based paint, and seller disclosures?
Yeah, that's what I would say. That's what you would use is real comps, lead-based paint, and seller disclosures. They're standard. That's what people use. Yep.
Yeah, if you just Google seller disclosure in Michigan, there's actually a PDF form that you can actually fill out, like the PDF lets you edit. So,
yep.
And then the lead-based paint you can find online, and because you just need a signature on that one and a checkbox, basically, you can load that into DocuSign and then send it to your seller, and then boom, they can do that. And then the PDF link you can just send to them, and you can have them fill it out. So it's pretty painless to get that done. But yeah, I just, because Kish, he forwarded this to me direct message, but looks like this comes from his purchase agreement, the verbiage that he has in his agreements with the seller. So you guys can check that out. I think it's pretty solid. That's probably similar to what your verbiage looks like, Carson.
Agrees on the buyer market the following property on the following internet. So mine says, because I got it up right here. Yeah, mine says seller agrees that buyer may, without restriction, market, list on multiple listing service, negotiate and resell the property to a third party via assignment contract. So buyer may elect to assign contract to a related entity or third party. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, I mean, this is one of Todd's contracts that he gave me a long time ago. I was told it was by an attorney, so I'm gonna hope Todd was telling the truth. So you know, I believe it's worded correctly. But I know someone who got in a kind of a big tangle, a really big wholesaling company, because they did that. They listed on the MLS. So I had the guy, the e-car board of director for my local area, call me. Like, what does that mean? Send me the purchase agreement. So, you know, but 2 days ago, I also assigned him a deal for one of his clients that I listed on the MLS. So we worked it out, and I was super transparent with him. You know, when he called me, that just was like, man, I really need to make sure I always put selling assignable interest in these listings, because if you don't, then that could have been bad. And you obviously have to have the property under contract. You know, you don't want it to be a daisy chain or something. Yeah. And then also, Kevin, like, just make sure you let the sellers know, because I've had realtors show up to sellers' house while they're there cleaning it out. They don't even live there. They live 3 hours away. And so I'm like, they're never going to know what's listed on the MLS. And the realtors are like, hey, we're here with blah, blah, blah. Your house is listed with RE/MAX. Can we take a look around? Totally uninvited. And so the seller calls me, and I've been like really upfront with the seller. So he was totally cool, but I'll, just make sure you just tread lightly with that.
How many days do you guys put in your contract to give you the ability to market?
As long as the contract is.
That's what I'm asking, is how long is your contract period?
Typically we just do 30 days, but if we always just make it as helpful for us as we can. If we know the seller's going to have a lot of stuff to get out of the property, let's say maybe they say, oh, we're going to need a month to get all the junk out of the property. We can close pretty soon after that. I'll just be like, I'll suggest, well, okay, how about this? We'll put 60 days on the contract. You'll have a month to get everything out of the property. By that time, title work should be pretty close to being completed, and we can start scheduling a date or something. That way, by the time everything's out, now you can go back and get good pictures of the house and then bring buyers through when all the junk is out. So, if I could give myself, and in this market, 30 days is an extra $1,000 in appreciation. So it probably won't kill you to do a little extra time. But, it's really just seller by seller, but typically it's 30 days.
And are you doing that as like an inspection clause, or is it just totally different contract structure with wholesaling? And I apologize for my newbie type questions.
No, man, that's what we're here for. So your question was just wholesaling. It's not an inspection period. So, our contract says that we have the right to market the contract. It doesn't put a date on that. So as long as our contract is, we have the right to market it. it also says that we have a right to back out if we can't find funding. My contract says that. So there's really no time limit on that. We could back out the last day of the contract. So unless you don't have that in your contract, the benefit of putting an inspection period in there specifically is for the seller's peace of mind. And I do that sometimes because some sellers I know are going to see that clause of we can back out whenever we want and have a problem with it. So I'll take that out and add inspection period. And inspection periods are great, especially if you're newer at wholesaling, because again, it gives that seller that impression that you may back out. And they're not going to be they'll be disappointed, but they're not going to be mad at you if you do. And then also it puts the fire under your feet, because I can't tell you how many properties I've had under contract for 29 days, and I'll start marketing on the last day, and I'll be like, okay, I guess I'm keeping this as a rental because I'm lazy, and sometimes I won't market properties. So if I had to do that in every one of my deals, and I had to make a decision at the 7th day, it'd probably be better for me. It'd probably be a better business structure, but inspection periods are great, So we just put 30 days. And then Mike's contract, Mike, yours has an inspection period in it, right?
Mine sure doesn't. It just runs for the entire period of the contract. It's pretty open-ended. So, yeah, it just gives me the right to advertise and has to pass mine and my partner's inspection process. And, yeah, it's pretty open-ended.
But you always go over it with the sellers.
Always, every single time. Most properties I sign, I don't even have under contract at that point. No, I'm just kidding. But
you're one of those.
Most of the properties that you contract, you've never even looked at. That's true. That makes it easy. That's an easy.
I am an iBuyer. At the end of the day, I am an iBuyer. So, just kidding. So.
Yeah, I have a line in there. A lot of times I put 0 inspection period. And what happens if I back out? They get 0 because I never put an earnest money deposit down. So, and if I have to back out, which is very rarely, there's just a way to do it where they don't hate you,
Yeah, I just asked because and it was a convoluted deal. It was a probate deal with an attorney, and I kind of got back into using his contract, which screwed me 4 different ways. But I had the deal sold, and I couldn't get them to agree to assign it over because there was a no assignment clause in the agreement. And anyway,
yeah, you could have double closed it, but I don't know how much. Right. If that made sense or not, sometimes you probably know a bunch of people, Jay, that you could get the transactional funding from.
Yeah.
If not, I know 10 people that would do that.
Yeah. I mean, that deal, actually, I mean, I could have pulled the money together myself and tapped out all of my funds, but I wasn't willing to do that because it was a thing where I felt when I got it under contract, I thought it was 40-50 grand worth of rehab work, and I had a guy walk through it and he's going, nah, you're looking at more like 100 because there's structural this and everything else. And I'm just like, I just got scared, and so I decided to try and wholesale it. Found a guy to buy it, but then I couldn't get the attorney and the sellers to restructure things so that I could flip it over to this other guy.
Did they ever sell it?
Supposedly. And I had $3,000 in EMD, and that was what, had me all, I wanted to make sure I got out.
Did you get your EMD back?
Yeah, I just got it the other day.
Yeah, because if they sold it and they didn't give you, they have to, technically they're supposed to, release the contract, your contract that you had. And
yeah. No, I mean, the attorney was fine about it after the fact. It was just the way that it went down was kind of screwy, but what, I'm still learning, and I figure it's it didn't cost me anything but time, and so it's just unfortunately a lost opportunity learning experience is what it is.
Mm-hmm. So I missed why you couldn't have double closed that.
I could have. Honestly, I probably could have done that. It was $115,000 purchase price, and my guy was willing to pay me $120,000. So I could have, worked it out to double close it.
He just didn't want to get stuck with it, Carson. Just
so it was 115 purchase price, and you would have sold it for 120.
Yeah, I just had a guy that was willing to pay me $5,000 more than I had it under contract for to take it over. And at that point I was like, hey, quick $5,000, sure, great. I think there's a lot more money in the deal, but I wasn't willing to buy it and run the risk of putting the money into it needed and in order to sell it retail, you know what I mean? Because I originally was going to buy it as a flip.
Gotcha. Two things. I probably would have done the same thing you did, because by the time you pay closing costs on that, you might make $2,000 on a double close. Not even worth it. But reach out to me if you have another deal like that, because that's something that I would be willing to buy and then relist on the MLS. Because like when you have a property on and I'm just saying, if you ever do, or you are in that situation, and if you're just going to lose the deal, let me know, and we can try to work something out. But when you have a house under contract, even if you're wholesaling a house and you list it on the MLS, you're not going to get as much traction as you will if you own it, because you just have so much more freedom. So, and if it's not your money tied up in it.
Looking back at it, I mean, I made, 15 different mistakes, if you will. I mean, I probably could have just bought it and turned around and listed it and got more than the $5,000 this other guy was willing to pay. Because you're right. Because that's what I'm looking at. Okay, if I do a double close, by the time I pay all the closing costs, I'm not going to make, hardly anything unless I get him to absorb my closing costs and still get me my $5,000, So, and the attorney wasn't playing ball very, very well. And I don't know if the sellers were confused or what, but they just sort of went dark on me. And next time I hear from them, they're like, yeah, we got somebody else that's willing to buy it. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I thought we had a deal. I was going to buy it and transfer to my fellow investor. And anyway, it just sort of fell apart.
Yeah, no, I was just letting you know, because I do that a decent amount too. That'll be my initial strategy. Sometimes will be to buy and relist, and that's just, even aside from this deal, it's something to keep in mind, because sometimes it's worth it to have